Hi everyone. I would like to share with you my project for this semester, which includes Disneyland Resort Disability Inclusion, focusing on Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. And of course, I am waiting till the last minute. So here we go. I would like to first point out that I've used colors for those who are colorblind to be able to view with ease. My good friend is colorblind and she cannot see red and green, so I've become more aware to be inclusive to those who have color limitations. In the next slide, we're going to talk about Walt Disney. In July of 1955, Walt Disney's dream of creating a magical place where all people can come to be entertained was open to the public. Since then, the company has grown to 12 theme parks spreading from Anaheim, Disneyland Resort, Orlando, Walt Disney World, Paris, Disney Paris, Tokyo, Tokyo Disney, Hong Kong, Hong Kong Disney, and Shanghai, Shanghai Disneyland. Although the company has seen many waves of change, today they strive to be the lead entertainer, but also to include everyone. And like Walt Disney, this is him right there. He says to all who comes to this happy place, welcome. And that's been used in many parades and a lot of entertainment because that is one of our key sayings that our founder said. 4 questions that I like to ask you guys is, have you been able to attend any of the Disneyland Resort parks? The next one is inclusion and diversity the same in your eyes? Next is, how would you define inclusion? And are you aware of the 5 key standards that we as a company hold? Let's see. Let's start with the first question. Disneyland Resort Parks. If you answered yes, what is your perception of how they accommodate disabled? If you said no, what would be your perception of how they accommodate, what would your perception of how they accommodate the disabled be? Let's move this over here. Okay, diversity. Let's see, the term diversity has been tossed around and defined in many ways, but mostly manipulated, which has made its original intent fail. In an article written by Sarah Ahmed, she discusses how what made diversity useful has also made it limited. Diversity can also be used in terms with organizations and create a false sense of belonging. So diversity and inclusion. So diversity throughout the park, cultural celebrations, hosting events for Hispanic and Latin American Heritage Month, with food, music, and storytelling. Next is park merchandise and decor, introduce new visual elements that mannequins in such as mannequins in a variety of skin tones to better reflect diverse visitors, aka in Small World, and also in other rides as well too. Ride and attraction updates. Rides are more inclusive, such as the addition of dolls and wheelchairs in certain attractions. Oh, that one's Small World. Inclusion. So the difference of what they've done that is inclusive. Park experiences, attraction updates, replace Splash Mountain with a ride themed around the Princess and the Frog, which features a Black female lead. I know there was a lot of controversy with Splash Mountain anyway, with the theme and where it originated from. We can go into that later. And enhanced accessibility, providing tools like the Disability Access Service. There's a whole link on that on their website about how to get around the parks, and I'm going to show some examples in a little bit. Employee and corporate initiatives. So this is more for the employees, which were considered cast members. The inclusion key in 2020 was added as a key which guides cast members on how to create a more welcoming and inclusive environment. I'm going to go into that a little bit later. Employee groups. The company has consolidated its employee resource groups under the belonging employee resource groups to focus on strengthening the employee community. There's a whole website on that just for the employees to look and focus on how to be more inclusive. So I want to talk a little bit about the economization of diversity. It was written by James Thomas, was a research study, and one of the articles I found was a research study down at a university to see how diversity was affected at the university. The main findings included diversity in investment, metrics, and effective labor. Although this was done at a university, it can also be applied to large corporations as well. So an investment is a tool to enhance company reputation, strategic market-oriented actions. And metrics processes are defined and measured, made extensive, and then effective labor seeks to increase excitement and satisfaction around efforts, can minimize it, but it can have a negative effect too, because it can minimize, ignore, and confuse issues of power and inequality throughout the different levels within a corporation. Next, we'll talk about examples. So at the Disneyland Resort, we have many shows, especially during the Christmas season or holiday season, whichever way you want to look at it. They focus on all the different nationalities and cultures and around the world. And these are just a few of the examples representing from different areas of the world. I personally work on the Disney Viva Navidad Street Party, and it's pretty fun. It includes the Mexican culture and also the Brazilian culture. My housemate is originally from Brazil, so it's a nice combination, and my backing is my family's from Mexico. So it's a nice little combination and a tribute to them. Let's get into the 5 key standards. In 2020, at the peak of COVID-19, the 5th key of inclusion was rolled out. Although most of us were laid off during this time period, Disney made an effort to make their 5th key public. This was huge and created a lot of controversy for those who work for the company and for the rest of the world as well. The media jumped at the opportunity to make Disney look like it was a leader in being open to change and evolving. When we got rehired as cast members, we were instructed to take a mandatory class about the meaning of the 5th key. My immediate response was, why did they need this propaganda and media attention? What was the main goal? There has to be a hidden agenda for when Disney does something this big. There has to be a reason. I've worked there for 23 years, 24 years, and there's always some sort of hidden agenda when it comes to rolling out big things. And so I'm very skeptical about the whole idea of it. Next is the case for inclusion. So I found this in another article by Menzies. While diversity has potential benefits for talent optimization, stakeholder satisfaction, decision-making, and innovation, without inclusion, the challenges of managing diversity, stereotypes and bias, language and communication barriers, differences in values, beliefs, and behavioral norms may prevent diverse employees from contributing fully to work processes. So I wanted to ask you guys, should inclusion be defined differently or the same when it comes to individual, community, and corporation? So that's something that I think we need to define as individuals and as a community and as a corporation, if you do work for a corporation or if you work for whatever you do as your job. Next step is the 4-factor model of inclusion. I found this in one of my last classes, and I have taken it with me going forward. And it's 4 models of inclusion, which include respect, belonging, empowerment, and fair progression. Each of that is shared in the little diagram. And I just wanted to share with you guys how inclusion is a combination of many things, as not just one individual things. with respect. My efforts and achievements are acknowledged. My uniqueness is valued. I am treated with positive regard and belonging. My contributions are sought, considered, and integrated into work practices. I have opportunities to form positive connections with others. In empowerment, my workplace accommodates for my unique needs. I have access to information and resources required for job performances. I have flexibility in my role and can manage work life. And next is fair progression. I have fair chance of achieving my full potential. I have a well-developed and supported career plan. I'm given equitable access to role models, mentors, and opportunities to develop. So I hope others feel the same way too. And I wanted to include this also in my presentation. Intersectional identities. Throughout the class, we talked a little bit about that, and I wanted to mention this, that Disney has many options to fall under the neurodiversity category. Examples are on the maps for later in the presentation. Also on their website, they have a section that will help guests plan their day if they do have neurodiversity and neurodiverse I don't know how you say it. Anyway, moving forward. As mentioned in the article, critical perspectives on disability and identity politics, which includes those are hyperactive, bipolar, developmental dysphoria, dyslexia, epilepsy, and I can never say this right. Tourette syndrome. That's right, Tourette syndrome. So I'm human and I make mistakes. Anyway, we can fall under many identities that would benefit us individually and as a collective community. And those are pictures taken from their website that includes children with headsets or headphones so that if it's loud and they just need some quiet, because that place is very hyperactive and very noisy. It's nice just to be able to put those on to help the children. Get a little quiet in their lives. Next, this came directly from their website, Accessibility at the Disneyland Resort. Disney is dedicated to providing a great experience for all guests, including those with disabilities, which is why we are so committed to delivering a wide range of innovative support services aimed at helping our guests and disabilities have a wonderful time when visiting our theme parks. Explore services for guests with disabilities, including pre-arrival resources, downloadable guides, and services available while visiting Disneyland Resort. And then they have those 6 tabs that you can click on, and then it takes you deeper into those topics. And I found them I've never really done any research on it, and I found it really involved, really full of a lot of information that anyone would need depending on the category. And I was very impressed with the way that they've gone very into much detail. So this is an example of the maps, and I know it's hard to tell because it's so small, but there is, I can send it to you, or when you guys download this thing, you'll be able to see it better, but it has an accessibility and mobility area right here. And then it also has like this map is specifically designed for any of the disability needs. There are others for the rest of the park or for other people as well. But see, this one is a guide map for guests with disabilities. And these are done weekly. So this one was one of the latest that I found on the website. And on the back, we show all the attractions, and then there's also all these symbols. And in this legend, it shows all the different accessibilities for this disabled. And I find that really they put a lot of effort into it. The next one is the same for Disneyland, a guide map for guests with disabilities. So it's pretty much set up the same way, but for the other park, and the same idea for this Disneyland map. Disneyland map, or Disneyland itself is so much older. It was built in 1955, so it has a lot less, but they're doing their best because it's such an old established park. But Disney California Adventure was built in 2001, so they were able to do a lot better in planning out being inclusive and including the disabled community. So the mobility needs. This one is an example of how cast members can go and look at the website and figure out how to help guests during their time here. Like I mentioned before, Disneyland was built in 1955, and during that time, Walt Disney was not aware of the needs for being inclusive with the disabled. To this day, Main Street Station is the only station at Disneyland that is not accessible to those who cannot walk upstairs. It would definitely change the aesthetics of this attraction, and it's a main focal point of the whole resort. So I don't know this for fact, and it's just my opinion. I feel like they didn't want to change the aesthetics of an original building and idea. So, but they did change the other stations to be able to allow those with disabilities onto the train itself. So this is an example of what a cast member can look up and have in their hand if they need, and they can print it on a PDF. It allows us to see what attractions require guests to walk by themselves or be assisted by members of their party. And then this section shows transfer from EV to wheelchair. So these are electric vehicles. Shopping required guests to transfer from their electric into an available wheelchair at the attraction. So they can transfer onto something else that they have for the attraction there. And then this one shows the wheelchair and ECV accessibility, which attractions allow guests to remain in their wheelchair or their EVC during the experience. So they can go into the experience and not have to transfer. And this one is what they have to transfer from wheelchair or EVC. So this one is where you would have to be able to be mobile enough to get out of your wheelchair or your EVC to be able to ride the attraction. And I've highlighted Golden Zephyr and Silly Symphony Swings because I went into the park the other day after work. Well, actually kind of during work. And I decided that I was going to show you guys some examples. So change through innovation, experimentation, study, practice, self-knowledge, and osmosis is what disabled people have experienced throughout their lifetime. And this was from the reading that we had from Vander Clift and Kunik. I'm not sure I'm saying that right. Anyway, throughout the years, the parks have evolved. In 2001, Disney California Adventure opened, and you can see the drastic change of inclusion with rides and pathways, making it more accessible for disabled individuals. I walked through the park the other day and was curious as to these two rides in which the guests have to take the stairs to get to them. I asked the cast member if there were ways for disabled to ride without climbing the stairs, and she showed me where the elevator can be used. I was not aware until then and just assumed it was a ride that could not be available to those who cannot climb steps. The limitations are they have to be able to transport from their vehicle onto the ride. This is all indicated on the list provided in the previous slide. So here's the elevator and here are the stairs. So obviously, if you are able, you can climb these stairs to get up to this ride and ride the swings. But I didn't notice that there's an elevator right there at the entrance as well. Here's another example. As you can see, the elevator for the Zephyr. The Zephyr is this like little rocket ship kind of thing that you can go in, but you have to transfer from your wheelchair or your mobile device into this cockpit area, but you have to climb steps. Here are the steps in order to get onto that platform. So those are two examples of how they have evolved from 1955 to 2001. And I wanted to share those with you guys. The next one is examples of mobile equipment for guests and backstage cast members. So we've also mentioned the EVC, which is this thing right here. I took that picture the other day as well. And then a wheelchair. And as you can tell, they're right by the attraction that I just talked about. And then this one is our backstage cast shuttle. I wanted to circle that this actually has a lift in order for any of those that need that cannot climb these steps in order to get onto the shuttle. And each vehicle has this, and the shuttles run all the time. So, and each driver knows how to access and is trained on how to make it accessible for those that need this service. As mentioned in the lecture presented by our teacher, President Bill Clinton assisted Technology Act in 1998. Any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially off the shelf, modified, or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. In my personal life, I've noticed the increase of individuals wearing hearing aid, using speech-to-text software, etc. on a daily basis. I know I've used speech-to-text software daily, but laugh when the autocorrects the incorrect score. It makes for an interesting message when I forget to double check. I feel like that is a huge asset to not only those that need it, but those that, well, actually, I need it too. I mean, everyone could use that, right? It makes it easier than having to use our fingers on the screen. Anyway, I thought I'd include that. And then, okay, we're at the end. Conclusion. 2 weeks ago, I was able to take my 86-year-old mother and my 7-year-old grandniece to Disneyland California Adventure in Disneyland. Since taking this class, my eyes have become more aware of how the park is making adjustments by making rides, walkways, doors, etc. more accessible for the disabled. My mother is starting to have a difficult time with stairs and walking, which means my attention has been to make sure that she is more comfortable while being able to have fun with the 7-year-old. All 3 of us had great experiences until we're exhausted and just want to roll into bed. Well, I should change that to the older adults are tired and the young child can go on forever. Anyway, I know Disney still has some improvements, and with new technology innovations constantly occurring, they will do their best to make those adjustments. One thing will never change: to all who comes to this place, welcome. So thank you very much. Here are my resources. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions. But if you could answer those questions at the very beginning, that'd be very cool, because I'd love to hear your perspective on how you feel about it. All right. Thanks for listening. Bye.